Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's really great that you're here with us today. We're really excited to have you here for this digital open day. Please allow me to introduce myself first off, just to give you some idea of who I am. So I'm Dr. Michelle O'Reilly, and I'm an associate professor in the School of Media, Communication and Sociology. And my area of expertise is around communication in mental health, because I'm also a chartered psychologist in health. My particular role within the university and within the School of MCS is a split role. I work part of my week at the university doing the traditional academic work, and the other part of my week I work in the NHS, in Leicestershire Partnership NHS Trust, where I work in mental health, particularly in child mental health. So obviously my area of expertise in sociology is in the sociology of health and illness, and that's the kind of taster I'm going to give you today. But if I just start by giving you a little bit of an overview of what to expect. So for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be sat here talking to you, just giving you some general information. I'm going to give you a little bit of information around the University of Leicester. I'm going to give you a little bit of context about the School of Media, Communication and Sociology. And I'm going to give you some introduction to the sociology degree, which is why you're here today, of course. I'm also going to just give you a little bit of taster from the Sociology of Health and Illness module, just to give you a sense of the applied and career focused nature of the sociology degree. And once that 30 minutes or so is up, we'll then move on to about 10 minutes, approximately, maybe 15 minutes of questions. And I've got Victoria hiding in the background, who's going to help me organise the questions. So as I'm talking to you and as we're going through the various slides, just jot down any questions that you might have, and please do then bring them to the kind of group forum at the end. We really would value hearing from you. It's always nice to know. I always find these things slightly strange, because from my point of view, I'm sat in this room, I'm staring at a screen, and I can't see any of you, of course, and I can't hear any of you. So I'm kind of hoping that you're all out there somewhere listening to me talk about the sociology degree. So the questions bit is particularly nice for me, because I get to connect with you as an audience and hear your views and thoughts on Leicester and any kind of outstanding queries that you've got that haven't been answered by the presentation part of the session. Okay, so hopefully you're all behind your screens because you have an interest in the field of sociology. And of course, sociology is a fascinating subject area, and it's really a diverse subject area. It has a whole lot of facets and disciplines associated with it, and it connects, of course, with lots of other disciplines, in the sense that sociology works well in partnership with other areas like criminology, business, education and psychology. And that's why myself, I am an interdisciplinary researcher. I specialise in sociology, but I also do psychology and education research as well. So sociology is all about human social behaviour. So it's about the individual and their role in society. As a field, it kind of examines the social dynamics of small groups of people. It's interested in large organisations and how they come together. It's interested in communities and, of course, societies. And when you look at the modern world today, we will see how various different aspects of society have come together globally, but nationally and locally. And I think, you know, in the news media, we've seen some large social issues unfolding in the last 3 years. Nobody wants to mention the dreaded COVID word, but of course, COVID is not only a public health problem, it's also a sociology problem. It's a problem about how society comes together or how it fragments. And of course, again, in the news media, we've seen lots of discourse around fractured Britain, broken Britain, these diverse opinions on various areas, including COVID. So sociologists then are really interested in exploring these kind of fundamental principles of social life. We're really interested in the ways in which people behave in society, the way they contribute to society, or the way they stand up against certain things in society. And I think, we've seen various things around the world, like the protests in Iran, for example. We've seen the big protests around climate change across the world, and particularly in our own country. And of course, these are areas of multidisciplinarity, but actually a real interest to sociologists, because they're interested in the cohesion of society and the way in which people respond and act in their communities are particularly important to sociologists. And so in the sociology degree, we explore some of these really interesting, difficult to unpack areas of society. But more importantly for you, I think, is that actually sociology degrees provide a huge range of important skills. A sociology degree, and I will talk about this in a little more detail shortly about careers, but it provides you with a range of skills, knowledge and understanding of things that are applicable to quite a broad range of different professions. So it opens up a gateway for you to be interested in a whole range of different areas. And the modules and the degree is structured in such a way as to kind of give you some insight and help you hopefully develop where your own personal interests are, so that you can decide which career pathway is most appropriate for you and which area of sociology you want to particularly specialise in. And it also should hopefully pique your curiosity. It should inspire and motivate you to think about things that are going on in the world, and hopefully provide you with the skills that are foundational to help you interpret those. So we ask questions like, how did this come to be? Oh, there was another question. I'm sure there was, but I must have got rid of it. Apologies. It's always interesting when your own slides take you by surprise. Never mind. So I guess then your second question in picking a sociology degree is, why study sociology at Leicester University? Why would you come to our really rather lovely, vibrant city? And one of the main reasons we always say to students who are considering which university to study at is actually sociology was one of the first departments at the University of Leicester, founded in 1952. It has a really strong background, a really strong history, and it's been an area of investment for the university. But the staff who teach the sociology degree are also incredibly motivated, because we do our own research practice. We're interested in various different areas, and as I've already alluded to, my particular area is all around health and illness. But all the members of staff I work with, their own research informs their teaching, and what that means in practice is that lecturers who are informing you and teaching you are bang up to date with the latest modern evidence, and they translate and report that to you during the lectures. But you'll also find that actually we've got a really strong, vibrant academic community, not just of undergraduate students, but we have master's students, PhD students, support staff, research students, and of course our academic team. And you can find out quite a lot about the academic team on the website. We all have our own pages there. And John Goodwin, who is part of our department, just put this quote up, and I won't read it out because that doesn't feel necessary. I think you can all see the quote for yourself. But actually what they're driving at, what John is driving at in this quote, is that actually Leicester, the city of Leicester, is a really diverse and vibrant city, and the students that we have come from a huge range of different disciplines, backgrounds, and that means that the peer support that we tend to get during our sociology degree is really second to none. So we've created a new model in terms of delivering the sociology degree, which we call the Leicester model, for want of a better way of framing it. And the whole purpose underpinning this Leicester model is that we don't just lecture students. There's a huge range of different teaching methods and assessment methods that are applied to make the degree interesting, useful, practical, and to appeal to different kinds of learner. We recognise that not everyone just wants to sit in a lecture theatre listening to somebody talk at them. So there's a whole range of different modules that use different techniques, things like photo voice, field work, we use social media, we have reflective portfolios. There's a whole creative process to our sociology degree that we hope students find inspiring, and we have had quite a lot of positive feedback on these different ways of teaching and assessing students. Of course, it's still a degree. There is still the essays, some exams, there is still some lecturing, but it's broken up with this whole range of different teaching methods and different styles of learning. So hopefully we capture the interest of all of our student body. And like I said, the feedback has been pretty good over the last few years. We also try to keep our class sizes relatively small. We like to pay attention to the individual. We genuinely do care about our students. We listen to them. And when you get to the third year and you do a dissertation, you get lots of attention in terms of building your own research skills. So we're trying to bridge the gap between school and university. Of course, it is a more adult environment. There is more emphasis on independent skills, but you're supported to develop those, particularly in the first year when you're going through that transition period. We do also focus on employability. We like our graduates to either go on to postgraduate courses or to go into the workplace. And hopefully the skills you learn during the degree better equip you for managing either or of those things. And as I said, the lecturers who are in front of you, they are researchers and practitioners. As I said myself, I work across 2 organisations. I do work in the NHS and I teach. And so that combination of skills and organisations, I bring that to the classroom, and my students then benefit from a better understanding of health and illness because of my real world experience of working in the NHS as well. And of course, other lecturers have got their own disciplinary preferences and research background. So the content that you get then as a student is informed by the latest evidence, and that's really important in terms of translating that to whatever form of career practice you go into. And as I said, we deliver through a whole range of different methods now. We don't just rely on the old-fashioned stand up and talk to you. There's face-to-face in-person teaching in campus. We also deliver some digitally so that there's a recording of things. We use lectures, workshops, tutorials, seminars, one-to-one supervision, and a whole range of other techniques that I just alluded to on the other slide. So just to give you a sense of the actual degree, the degree is made up of 360 credits. It's across year 1, year 2 and year 3. So in year 1, it's much more structured and guided for the very reason of promoting your learning and making sure you have the foundational sociology skills that you need to be able to go into year 2 and year 3. So in year 2, there are 2 mandatory modules, and then you get the choice of 4 other modules from a suite. And the same in level 3, then there's the 2 core modules, 3 optional modules, and as I mentioned earlier, you also get to do a bit of real world research yourself, so you get a taste of what it's like to do a research project, and that's completely determined by you in terms of topic and participants, and you're guided by a supervisor who gives you a lot of attention to support that skill development. So let's just give you a little bit of information. So these are currently the year 1 modules. So you can see that there's a whole range of different issues being covered there in terms of social and societal issues. You've got sociology in practice, interpreting key texts, power and privilege and diversity, society and transformation, race, ethnicity and racism in Britain, and ways of researching. And if you go onto the Media, Communication and Sociology website, you can actually find out quite a lot more about those modules. In the second year, the core modules are sociology theory, because of course theory informs practice, and that's a really important part of the sociology degree. Doing social research, because again, research evidence creates knowledge which informs practice. So research is a really important part of the sociologist's toolkit. Using numbers in social research and the sociological placement. And then you get a choice of optional modules. And I would just say that occasionally these change from year to year. There's a whole range of factors as to what is offered in any one year. So these are the ones that were offered, that'll be on offer to you this coming year. Work, employment and society, gender and society, sociology of fashion, sociology through literature and film, youth, adulthood and society, cosmic sociology and live sociology. And of course, these are subject to very slight changes depending on circumstances of staff and availability, etc. but it gives you a good impression of the kinds of modules that when you get to your second year will be available to you. And of course, the final year modules. There's the social research project, real world research, and modern sociological theory. So again, sociological theory runs through with sociological practice. So a lot of the modules are applied and they're designed with the employability in mind, but there are those core classical sociology modules as well, and doing the two alongside each other should set you up really well in your career. And then, of course, you get to choose the optional modules, which currently include football and society, autobiographical society, identity troubles, social psychology, sociology of health and illness, international migration, drugs and society, social movement, and social space and place, contemporary sociology. So again, they're subject to very minor changes, but these modules have been running for quite a long time now, so there's no reason why they won't be available when you come to do your third year, but we always do put the caveat in that there are risks of minor changes on the optional modules. But the key point is to give you choice so that you can have your degree your way, so that you can, by the time you get to your final year of sociology, you should have a good sense of what you enjoy and what you like to do. And so then you can select your optional modules in the way that suits you and where you would like to learn more information. So as I said earlier, we really do value our students at the University of Leicester. We put a huge amount of support in place for them. We want to develop them into great sociologists who go off out into society and make a contribution. Or even, you know, we're really proud of the fact that lots of our undergraduate students go on and do postgraduate study and they extend their learning experience either at Leicester or elsewhere, and really do take those skills one step further. But whatever you decide to do when you get to the end of your degree, the process of you getting to that final point is heavily supported by a huge range of initiatives and opportunities, but also from staff. And I guess one of the key things that's really important that we offer you is a dedicated personal tutor from the sociology department, so that you have somebody in your corner that you can speak to about various other things, and they will signpost you to other areas of support within the university should you find that you need any support in terms of academic skills or well-being or anything at all. So the personal tutor plays a really important role in your degree. There's a programme director who oversees the degree programme, and they are in the background. They're providing all kinds of support, making sure that the programme is joined up and has career and employment opportunities at its centre. We do also have a support office available to you, again, with support in mind. It's built into the title. That's there for all your questions and to help you out with any aspect that you find that you have questions about. And there's also a senior tutor for undergraduate students who you can also go and see and ask questions of should you want to. The universities also set up really heavily to support undergraduate students who come to the university. They recognise that actually it's a holistic aspect. It's not just about learning in your disciplinary area, but actually about your learning generally and about your transition into adulthood and your transition towards a career. So there's lots of aspects within the university itself that are there to help and support you too. We have a very good student support service and a student learning development service. The library is fairly new in Leicester. I don't know whether you've had a chance to look on the website, the David Wilson Library, and the librarians are also there to help you. They will help direct you to sources of information, and each department or school actually has a supportive librarian to help with reading lists and things like that. We also run a peer mentoring scheme, and the peer support we heavily recommend, because actually nobody understands what you're going through in your learning than your peers. There's the student handbook. There's also a study abroad option, and these are all things that you can pursue once you're a student and start exploring these opportunities. So one of the key things that we've worked really hard on in media communication and sociology in the last few years is this idea of transferable skills, so that when you do go out into the workplace, you have the necessary skills that you can translate and transfer into your career, whatever that career might be. And we're really pleased to say that, 97% of our sociology students were in employment within 6 months of graduating. And we've embedded certain things into the sociology degree to help support that employment opportunity. Things like the Leicester Award, Sociology in Practice. The live sociology module is a really useful thing along with the sociological placement. And the research project is really valuable in helping you to tailor what your own personal interests are in sociology and helping you to pursue that path to become an expert in something specific within sociology. And a sociology degree is one of those great degrees that provides a range of different opportunities. There's lots of different career pathways that you can take up in the field of sociology. And this list that you see on the screen isn't really a full list, it's just the most common areas that our sociology students tend to go into. Things like social worker, police officer, researcher, of course, like climate change and the environment is a big thing that we cover now in sociology. Human resources. We have a lot of our sociology students go into teaching. They go on and do a PGCE and become teachers, or they do postgraduate work and become university lecturers is another option. There's a huge amount of charities and not-for-profit organisations that really value a sociology degree. So, I'm not going to read all of these out, you can see for yourself. But the university also does provide career advice. So when you get to that point when you're nearing the end of your degree, or even earlier on if you're inspired to, there's lots of ways that you're supported into your career destination. And that may involve postgraduate work, or it might be straight into the employment field. And that's really down to your own personal preferences and which direction you want to go in. So as I come towards the end, the last 5 minutes of this presentation, I always like to give people who are thinking about coming to Leicester to do their degree in sociology a little taste of one of the modules. And of course, this is my module. I teach this to third-year sociology students, and we sometimes have social psychology students come on to the module as well. And I very much specialise in the area of health and illness. So I just want to give you a little bit of a flavour as to what sociology can contribute to the study of health and illness. So like the other modules on the degree, the health and illness module is a career-focused module. Okay, so one of the reasons why this module is so popular is because it starts to look at a huge area of health and illness, and there's a wide range of careers related to health and illness that our sociology students can pursue. So I work with 2 speech and language therapists who did their sociology degrees in Leicester many years ago, and they now work within the National Health Service doing speech and language therapy. So that's just one possibility of the way in which the health module might be a useful foundation for a career choice. Because I work in the NHS myself, this is a very applied module. It's very focused on the real world of health and illness, both in terms of public health, but also in terms of treatment and illness. And because of my dual role, I do manage to get a couple of my colleagues from the NHS who practice various areas of medicine to come in and teach the sociology students, which gives the sociology students a real opportunity to start exploring some of the different perspectives and challenge some of those medicalised perspectives with more sociology ones, and have those debates and discussions, but also challenge their own thinking. When you spend all your time with other sociologists, it's really easy to slip into the idea that sociology is fabulous and great and applied and useful. But actually talking to people from other disciplines, you have to work that little bit harder to be convincing and persuasive. And so that opportunity to build those debating skills is built into the module. And of course, the assignments are designed to improve employability skills. So the fundamental basis of the health and illness module is about how can a sociological understanding of health and illness actually contribute in an applied way to the practice of health and illness. And so the squares on the screen that you can currently see, they are kind of some of the areas that the module covers. So we do cover the big issues, the big societal issues like public health, and of course, given the recent events of the last 2 or 3 years, it does of course cover COVID-19. The other big area it covers is around climate change, because that's another major area where climate change is impacting on health and illness. And there was a recent study that suggested that people who live in really polluted areas are at greater risk of dementia than people who live in rural locations. So there's ways in which we can explore societal issues and their impact on health and illness. We also look at disability. One of the big areas of sociology that's of particular interest to sociology students is this idea of inequalities. And of course, disabilities is an area where inequalities become particularly pertinent. We do have a whole section of the module around mental health. We look at the social determinants of mental health, social factors influencing mental health. And of course, culture is another big area of sociology. So we explore health in the majority world, for example, and how it differs to the minority world, looking at culture as a lens for that. And then the issue of power. And again, classic sociology theorists like Foucault and Goffman, and how the medicalisation of certain conditions has contributed to giving power to certain sectors of society. And we talk about how the lecturers in media communication and sociology are research informed, and that's just an example of the kind of research that I do and how that informs my teaching on the health and illness module. So as I kind of come towards the end, I think it's really useful to have this slide. This just kind of tells you how to get in touch with us. If you do have more questions, I mean, these sessions, these open days, they're really useful, but you're probably going to several of these. You're probably hearing a huge amount of information, and it's inevitable that in 2 or 3 weeks' time, or even maybe, you know, in the middle of next year when you're making final decisions, you'll have questions, and we are available to answer those questions. They're not just restricted to this session today. We would love to hear from you. It's always great to have questions come through. And these are just the ways in which you can get in touch with us, which, you know, the email address is the general inquiries desk. You can, of course, telephone, although people generally don't seem to use that option so much these days. The website tells you there's a huge amount of information on the website, lots of detail. All of the academic staff have a profile page that you can look at so you can get a sense of who we are. And Instagram and Twitter, if you feel so inclined to follow us on those social media platforms. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to Victoria now, who's going to start the question and answer 15 minutes part of this session. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for that really helpful introduction to sociology. So we'll keep the chat open. So if anybody attending has got questions they want to pose now, while you've got Michelle. So we've had one question come in, Michelle. So that was, could you give us some tips on a personal statement? So I think perhaps they're looking for what kind of things should they be talking on a personal statement? What would be the expectation?
Yeah, of course. So I guess the advice I generally give to students in terms of a personal statement is be honest. You know, you are who you are, your interests are what they are. So a little bit of honesty goes a long way. Be reflective. You know, think about what it is that you're trying to achieve with the sociology degree. And different students will be trying to achieve different things, and that's absolutely okay. Be ambitious, you know. Don't underestimate your abilities. I think one of the things that we sometimes find difficult when writing these kind of things is that we're a bit humble and modest when we write them. It's quite hard to get into that mindset. It feels like showing off somehow, but actually We want to hear about your achievements. We want to hear about what you've done. We want to hear what you're capable of, and we want to hear about your ambition. We want to hear about your long-term and short-term goals. We want to hear why you've picked Leicester, what makes Leicester so special to you in terms of, your choices, and what it is about the sociology degree that is valuable to you and how you're going to use that. Yeah, I guess it's all of those kinds of things, really. It's shine a spotlight on how brilliant you are, and that can be hard to do, but showcase yourself and allow those achievements to come out, and show your ambitions and allow them to come out. Does that help?
Absolutely, yeah, I think there's some really good tips there. If anybody wants anything more, as Michelle said, you can always drop the team an email. Got a couple more minutes if anyone wants to ask any further questions. There was one that came through, Michelle, that was, and I can put a link in where people can look at course pages, but somebody did ask if we do joint courses, and I know that we do. Is that something that you can tell us anything about, Michelle?
They're quite new, the joint courses, so I personally have limited information. I would advise you to get more accurate information, but there are joint courses. I'm not exactly sure when they're starting. So I know, for example, we're working with criminology on joint, but I wouldn't like to give too much information because I'm not that clued up myself. But there is the email address I put up, MCS -inquiries. You can email that, but there should also be some information about it on the website as well.
There is indeed, yeah. So as I say, I will put a link there because, as Michelle said, we've got sociology with criminology, and there's media and society, as well as the sociology BA, and the new for 2023 is sociology and journalism, I believe. So I will put a link on to that.
Yes.
There's no, oh no, just as I talk, there is a new question just come in. Let me read that. So it says, on the presentation, when it was talking about dissertation, it says dissertation or real world research. Does that mean you have a choice to either do a dissertation using other sources, or a paper concluding your own research finding? I am aware, Michelle, that maybe we're getting very specific now, but I thought it worth asking.
Yeah, we are getting specific. You do the dissertation, the research dissertation is a mandatory module. You do have to do that. There are different ways of doing a dissertation, using primary research data or secondary research data. And you will be allocated a supervisor who will talk you through all of those options. But you do have to do the dissertation. It's across semester 1 and semester 2. It's quite a big part of the degree, but the way in which you do your dissertation, there are options, and you do get to choose your own topic, and you're given a supervisor within that kind of topic area who is there to guide you through every step of the way. So it's not anything to worry about. Most students get a little bit anxious when they start, but they soon settle in, and actually by the end of it, they love it because it's something a bit different. It's something they're in control of. It's something that they get to guide completely uniquely through the whole semester. So I hope that's answered your question.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does, Michelle. That was from Finn. So Finn, if there's any further questions, obviously do just get in touch with one of the members of the team. There's no other questions come up at the moment, so it was nice to have those couple there. Michelle, unless you had anything else, I think I can hand back to you and you can wrap up.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. So really, I just want to say, thank you everyone for taking the time to come and join us today. I know how busy everyone is, especially with Christmas fast approaching. Everything can get a little bit overwhelming at this time of year. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I hope that the presentation and the Q&A bit have been helpful in giving you a bit of a clue about how sociology at Leicester works. like I said, mostly we find that people think of questions much later down the line, once they're a little bit further on in the process and they're getting closer to decision making. So please do use those details to get in touch with the department. They'll be more than happy to answer questions, send you material, provide you with links to information, whatever it is you need. We're here to help you, and we're happy to help you. So when you've had a chance to reflect and think about things a little bit more, then please do get in touch with your questions.